Welcome to Real Talk Junkies. Your boy Jeffrey L. Boney here. So excited to have you here for another hot edition of Real Talk Junkies Live. Make sure you do what you are known to do. That's share the link. Make sure you share it with your friends, your foes, your enemies, family. It doesn't matter. Everybody needs to check out Real Talk Junkies on the day. Want to encourage you to chime in the chat. If you got your questions, your comments, make sure you do that. Engage with us here on Real Talk Junkies Live on today. Also want to encourage you to go check out the forwardtimes.com link for the latest news for and about the African-American community. And of course, you can always engage with your boy, yours truly, Jeffrey L. Boney, at jeffreylboney.com. Pick up the latest book, Don't Argue With Me, a no-nonsense approach to the issues in the Black community. I want to get right into it today. Small business is integral to American society. It's the foundation, it's the pillar of American society. I mean, yeah, you have these big corporations, but the true engine that really makes America work when it comes to enterprise is small business enterprise. And someone who has been on the forefront of not only small business enterprise, making sure that small businesses are exposed or promoted or engaged or networking or connected to opportunities and to the community, has been none other than my next guest, someone who is a trendsetter, a trailblazer in the area of engagement in small business community, especially amongst the African-American community. I'm talking about the founder of the Texas Black Expo, Mr. Jerome Love. Let's give it up, y'all. Real Talk Junkies Live.
All right, Jeff.
What's going on, good sir?
Man, I'm good. I'm good.
You got the memo, I see.
Yeah. You look good, man. You look good.
Look better,
Thank you for having me.
Man, welcome to Real Talk Junkies Live, man. So at any rate, Texas Black Expo. What I want to do before we get into, I know you have another expo forthcoming, 20 years.
20 years.
20 years this year.
Yes, sir.
Wow, man, we're going to get into that 20-year celebration here in just a moment. But let's start from the humble beginnings of the Texas Black Expo, formerly Houston Black Expo.
Yeah.
So tell the people a little bit about yourself first and foremost, and how you started the Houston Black Expo, which transcended into now what's called the Texas Black Expo.
Well, I'm like many African Americans. I grew up hardworking parents. They told me get a good education, get a good job. I went to the University of Texas at Austin. I had my quote unquote good job.
Sorry to hear that. I'm an OU guy. Yeah. Go ahead though.
So I got an internship. Was working 7 to 7, go home every day, fight through traffic, 7:45, 8 o'clock. I'm tired. 8:45, I'm eating dinner. 9:30, I'm go to bed and just wake up and do the same thing over and over and over. It was a summer internship. And it was at that point, I was like, man, this cannot be God's will for my life. Decided to start a business. First business was a clothing line. I also got my real estate license when I was in college.
Now, hold on, let's go back to, you were studying what in school at this time?
Corporate communications. My parents.
So what was your goal? Did you have
I had no goal.
Okay,
yeah, my parents told me, and I think that's really one of the big issues, I would say, with the educational system in general and the way many African Americans are taught and raised. We're taught like just to go to college, like it's gonna magically make you money. My kids are in college now. I advocate for college, but I tell them to go with a purpose.
Yeah.
Evaluate the major you're gonna go to, evaluate the career that you're gonna have afterwards, and if you're going to invest $100,000 in 4 years of your life, make sure the return that major is going to give you is going to be worth it.
Right.
My parents just said go to college, so I was just picking.
Now, was that to get you out the house, or no? That was just what you were taught to do.
Old school parents. Yeah. You getting up out of here, you going to the military, you getting a job, or go to college. That was just kind of the way my parents were.
Yeah.
So, so that was my thinking. I got my good job, and I said, man, I given my life to Christ. I said, this cannot be God's will for my life, just to work, and never have time. I went to a Bible study and fell asleep. And I was like, this don't make no sense. If God truly be God, how is it that I can't build that relationship? Because I'm falling asleep in church because I'm working so hard.
Yeah.
And that was when I said, I'm going to start my own business. Now, as you know, I'm a member of the Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, one of the most illustrious, if not the most illustrious, African-American fraternity.
Get back to the story. Get back to the story.
Right. Yeah, so I was the second vice president, so I was in charge of the parties, and I went to go book
on campus.
You did. So I went to go book our DJ. And it was a guy named Byron Davis, and he had started a real estate company. And I was like, what is real estate?
Yeah.
And so that was my second business. He told me about real estate. I got my real estate license when I was 20. I was just trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
So long to short, between starting my clothing line, that taught me about trade shows.
What was the name of the clothing?
Gugogs. And Gugogs stood for get up, get out, and get something.
Gugogs.
And you know, I'm a big thinker. So instead of kind of building a small market and going from there, I went to the Magic Show. Magic Show is the largest apparel show in the world. I got my first business loan like the day after I got out of college. It was a $20,000 investment. 3 months later, I was $20,000 in the hole. You know, so now I'm having to sell real estate to try to pay that off.
Yeah.
But that experience taught me about trade show and trade show marketing. My pastor, Dr. Dana Carson, was moving from Austin to Houston. And I said, okay, I'm going to go with him. What am I going to do? And the last trade show I did with my clothing line was the Dallas Black Expo in 2002. And they said it was the first one. And I just assumed that most of your major cities had Black Expos. So I did a little research, found out Houston didn't have one. And I said, well, hey, I'm going to start a Black Expo. I'm going to help people that want to be in business to grow and not go through many of the things that I went through. Because one of the biggest things I learned is how expensive advertising was. So I was like, if I can provide an affordable platform for people to promote and sell their products, they're going to be ahead of the game. And then I also saw it as a platform for me to promote and sell my own business and products and things of that nature. So,
all right. So starting an expo.
Yeah.
You know, now was this a for-profit or a non-profit approach?
Initially, we were for-profit.
Okay.
And I had a limited small vision. I just saw it as a weekend event, come out, sell some product, make some money.
Okay.
I went to Indiana in 2007. Now, the Indiana Black Expo has the largest and longest running Black Expo in the country. 75 million annual economic impact. At the time, it was the second largest gross in terms of net income to the economy, second largest to the Indianapolis 500. And when I went down there, my mind was just blown. And I realized we hadn't scratched the surface. I mean, they had the RCA Dome, which was where the Colts played at the time. What they had half of it where they had a basketball court for a celebrity basketball game, and the other half was their food court. Conseco Fieldhouse, Mary J. Blige, a concert. You got 100,000 people outside, every hall filled with people. And when I looked at their business model, I understood they were nonprofit. They had chapters and affiliates throughout the state. So the Indiana Black Expo, they call it the summer celebration. That's we got our summer celebration. That's kind of like their state conference. So all of the affiliate chapters come together for this massive event. And ever since I saw that, I came back. We changed the name to Texas Black Expo. We formed a for-profit, but it's not just an event. It's an organization. It's sustainable programming to help to build that community. It was started back in the 60s when Jesse Jackson and they were doing their things in Chicago and the NAACP, and we were coming out of civil rights. And they didn't have a strong NAACP Urban League in Indianapolis, a relatively small city. So the Indiana Black Expo kind of stepped up and became that advocate and that voice for the Black community in that region. All of the other organizations, United Way, Urban League, NAACP, they all come together and do events during Indiana Summer Celebration Weekend. And that's what makes it such a massive event.
All right. So I want to get to where you are now because you're doing some phenomenal things as part of the Texas Black Expo. But I want to kind of go back to this entrepreneur thing because, you know, people may look at the Texas Black Expo now and be like, wow, 20 years, you guys have done some amazing things. You bring out the people, the vendors, and bring, you know, you were always known for bringing out some of the top artists and stuff at the time. And but I know there had to be some challenges along the way, some maybe some stumbling blocks, roadblocks. What have been some of the biggest challenges from the start? Because you say 2007 you went to Indiana Black Expo for the first time, and you started the Houston Black Expo in 2004. 2002,
technically, we started the organization. The first event was 2004.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So 2004. And so you were in the business 3 years trying to make this thing pop as the Houston Black Expo. So what challenges did you face from start to 2007 and then from 2007 to where you are now?
Well, where do you want to start?
Anywhere, just start anywhere.
Let me just tell you this. I told you how I grew up in college. I didn't know anything about business.
Right.
I've just, you know me,
Right.
I'm aggressive. I'm
Right.
pretty persistent. So my thought was, I'm gonna figure this out. I'm gonna do this. I'm Jerome Love.
Yeah.
and ultimately I did, but I took the long way around, the hard route. So I don't even want to give you some of the stories, man. I did that first. I remember we had a concert playing that first year. This is a true story. And about 3 weeks before the show, we had Will Downing coming. And the guy said, so who's doing your backline? I was like, what's backline?
Uh-huh.
So I'm putting on the show, and a backline is all the, like the guitar, the drums, and all the stuff that they need to perform.
Right.
I didn't even know. I was just doing things, but you
just wanted Will Downing there.
Yeah, we had Will Downing. He was affordable, but sometimes, I think that's what stops a lot of people from starting in business. It's like the Bible. When he told Abraham, he said, "Go to a land that I will show you." He didn't say go north, south, east, or west. Right. He said a place where I'm gonna show you. So that suggests a certain level of trial and error. If you go this way, you'll ultimately get there, but you're gonna have to kind of figure it out.
Right.
I'm not necessarily suggesting that as a business owner,
Right.
but I'm just telling you what the reality of my journey was.
Absolutely.
And sometimes when I advise, a lot of people come to me and they ask me about business and they want consulting. And I tell them to do the opposite of everything I did. I tell them to work a job and save a certain amount and then step out. But I just know that many times when you get on that job and you get used to that check coming in, then it becomes more difficult for you to step out because now you're comfortable and now it requires a certain level more of faith. It's always faith, but people don't really recognize it that way. Mm-hmm. That's how we got into this thing. You asked about the challenge. So first year we were over $100,000 in the hole.
Wow. So this is because of Will Downing?
No, it wasn't really. It was just ignorant decisions.
No, but I want you to finish that story though. You didn't have a backline.
I didn't have a backline. I didn't even know what backline was.
What did you end up having
that was
to do?
a learning lesson. So the guy that asked me the question was a hustler in and of himself, okay. And he was recognizing my
inexperience.
Inexperience,
being green and naive.
But he also recognized that I had access to funds because God gave me favor. I had an investor that gave me about $42,000 on a handshake. Oh, so wow. He was like, well, let me get a piece of this. You know what I'm saying? So I'll be your event coordinator and this, that, and the other. So he did help me put together the back line and the production for the stage. And through that, I learned, but I paid him money that I shouldn't have had to pay. Mm-hmm, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So it was a learning experience. And that's how we got there. The most of the 100,000 that was due was, once again, it was just ignorance. You go to all these venues and everybody give you the per unit cost. So yeah, the carpet's only $3 per cubic yard. Oh, that's not bad. Yeah. But you don't say, well, how many cubic yards is that in total? So that was what pretty much everybody from the venue to the decorator, they had all given me these per prices. And
was this at Georgia or Brown?
No, we were at Reliant that year.
Okay.
But when we get 2 to 3 weeks out from the event and they're like, okay, we need our deposits. Here's what our estimate is, and 30,000, 20,000. What? No, and then by that point, no, we need to cut some of this. Well, we've already got them under contract. That's it. Now, what I do, I always go in, okay, great. I see that the carpet's this, that, and the other. Here's our floor plan. Give me a total budget based upon this. Mm-hmm. So when they say 20,000, now, we got to cut that down to 10. Cut the carpet here. We don't need draping here. We don't need that, And then you kind of build from there.
Now, some people can't bounce back from $100,000 trial and error or, bought lesson in this case. Yeah. So how were you able to, I guess, bounce back? Because some people would be like, God, I'm 100,000 in the hole, man, after the 1 year. And because you are reliant upon your income coming from that event, if you were 100,000 in the red, some people will just wash their hands of it or try to figure out how to just pay that money back. So what did you do?
Well, one, I really felt like God had given me the opportunity and he clearly shown favor. Many people, you were at that event. We had 200 vendors. The mayor was there. It was a massive event. And I recognized that God was kind of working with it. And I also recognized that, you know, anything in life is going to be a challenge and it's going to be hard. So if you want the technical answer of how I survived, and this just kind of shows I'm
not so
old
much
school.
survive, but bounce back. I mean,
Well, that's what I'm ready to explain. Bounce back.
Yeah.
So I'm old school. My dad raised me old school. He told me to pay for everything cash. I didn't even really know what terms were. I just paid for everything up front. I didn't understand cash flow and that, you know. So we did such a great job with the event, and the people were there, and it was massive. People assumed that I was a little bit more established than I was, and we were in a position that we really weren't at the time. So people were giving us stuff. I'll do your decoration. You can pay me 30 days after the show. And I'm going to give you this, and you can do. So the next XO was pretty much done on credit, you know. Mm-hmm. So that was the way we survived that and bounced back there. Now, the problem was the second year we broke even. That's a good thing. Mm-hmm. But when you were $100,000, you still $100,000 in the red. Yeah, everybody that $100,000 that I had owed, I said, well, I'm going to pay you next year. Yeah. And then when we couldn't pay them, now it was like, nah, you ain't about to get me again. Because I was like, give me one more year. Right. So that's the third year was spent planning the expo. I had to keep all the vendors that did the expo on credit happy, so I made sure they were taken care of. But while I'm planning that third year, I'm in and out of court, ducking lawsuits and this, that, and the other. Yeah. Third year, we made some money, about $100,000. Oh yeah. So guess what? You gave that $100,000. Yeah, I had to get that $100,000 of them. So you still even. So it's third year, and then we broke even. So it wasn't until the fourth year that we actually made a little bit of money. And we kind of went from there, but it was just really a blessing. God really kept me every summer. It was like, I told you I got my real estate license. So every summer, my phone would just start ringing off the hook, and I would just start selling houses. I was doing not apartment locating. I was doing substitute teaching. So I was just doing stuff to get by, just to maintain and survive. And if you asked me to pinpoint how I made it, I would be hard pressed to tell you. It was a challenge, but it was just God's favor, and He blessed me. So what was the biggest lesson that you learned? I mean, what would you have done differently if you were talking to a 2004 Jerome Love here in 2023? I think, I don't know. Once again, I appreciate the process I went through. Yeah. Because I think it taught me, it trained me, and it's unfortunate. A lot of people, you're not going to learn until you bump your head. That's just the reality. Yeah. Part of that, I told you about the $100,000 in debt. I bought my first rental house when I was 21, and by the time I was 26, I had like 8, and then by the time I was 28, I had like 5 foreclosures. Yeah. Now, I had a guy that was trying to teach me and mentor me at the beginning, but you don't know what you're talking about. You buying these old raggedy houses. I'm going to go get it. I thought I knew what I was doing. Right. Then when I lost them all, then he said, okay, you ready to learn? And he taught me, and now I've built back up my real estate portfolio. But my point is, he was trying to teach me, I wasn't listening. It wasn't until I bumped my head that I was willing to listen. Yeah. So unfortunately, that's just the way it is sometimes in life and in business. Yeah, some people unfortunately learn best with what we call bought lessons. Yeah. Yeah. You know, it's like you have to spend a whole lot of money or a whole lot of time or both learning the mistakes and realizing, you know, through humility and whatnot, that, hey, you know what? Let me sit my behind down and listen or do something different. This is what I find, Jeff. When people get successful, they're in the newspaper, best-selling author, whatever, they sit up and they go like this. Well, let me tell you what I did. You know what I'm saying? And they can tell you some really valuable lessons because that comes with the territory. But they don't really tell you that they was trying to figure it out. Right. You know, they don't tell you about the hardships and the things that they go through. Right. They tell you what they did. They tell you the lessons learned. But the reality is the lessons that I learned and the things that I would have done was applicable to my situation at that time. Right. We're in a whole different era, situation, and time right now. So the things that I would tell you may not be applicable for you, because it's just a different context.
I somewhat disagree with that, only in that I believe that you, and I thank you for sharing your story. I mean, and being as transparent as you are about it, because there are a lot of people that are watching this right now and that will watch this that needed to hear that story, because they're probably at that place right now where they're not listening, or they are just throwing money here, throwing money there, not doing their research, taking their time, just trying to feel their way through, and maybe they're in a hole.
Yeah.
And they don't know how to recover. They don't know if they can recover. They don't know if they can bounce back. So I think that, it is very applicable here in 2023. Yeah. And I think it's even a greater segue in the Texas Black Expo being, this 20-year celebration, summer celebration, that you're able to, not only through your testimony and you putting on this event, allowing people the opportunity to be exposed and learn some of these things, because you don't just have the expo where it's just a trade show. Yeah. You offer things such as workshops and information to people. So let's talk about how you transitioned to the Texas Black Expo and what changed about your model, because I see now you're doing business luncheons. You got Magic Johnson coming in. You do different workshops. I just recently attended right in Missouri City. You came to my city, put on a couple of financial seminars talking about staffing with Carla Lane, with Lane Staffing. You had Comerica Bank come in and talk about the 5 C's of credit. I'm a former banker, so of course I appreciated that. And the people that were in those meetings, the questions that they asked, how many years? I mean, I was in banking for 11 years. I left banking in 2008, and fast forward to 2023, we're still talking about the same thing I'm talking about when I was a banker. The 5 C's of credit, and how do you position yourself to get money and loans? And so everybody's not as blessed to get 20 grand out the gate like you, but from the bank. But at the end of the day, there are still things that you experienced in that time frame you were in that is applicable for right now. So let's talk about this Texas Black Expo. What impact are you making on Texas?
So I'm gonna answer that, and I'm gonna kind of go back to what we were talking about before. The most invaluable thing, I think, you kind of learning point from what I went through is the value of mentors. Finding people who've been where you've been and can give you advice. Mm-hmm. And certainly that's always applicable. Yeah. So we look at ourselves as I'm going to say this, mentor organization. Yeah. At the end of the day, most of the program, I'm the president, founder, and CEO. So most of the programs that we do, I have a team, I have a board of directors, and certainly I listen to them. But most of them are birthed out of the things I went through, the things that I learned, the things that I know most people don't know. Yeah. So the programming and the training and stuff that we do is a way to mentor you, teach you the things that I didn't do and what most, but we also deal with, because I have so many people that come to me and we're like, one of the programs we do is our Boost Consulting. It's online consulting. So you can go to our website right now, TexasBlackExpo.com. You can talk to Carla Lane if you have a staffing issue for free. You can talk to me. I can talk you through marketing and advertising. We have attorneys for free. That's a service that we offer. Why? Because I didn't have access to that when I started. So, I hear people and the things that they're going through, and I realize it was the same things that I go through. It's a community of people that really haven't been taught, haven't been trained. I heard Bishop Jake say the other night, he said, we have a hustle culture. We working hard, we trying, we doing all this type of stuff, but we don't have a strategic, systematic way of doing business, because we've never had really access to money, resources. So we just hustling, we trying to make it, Yeah. So I think the question was, what are we doing for Texas? We're mentoring small businesses and individuals throughout the state of Texas with our various programs that we do with Black Expo.
So I want to talk about some of those programs. One of them that I found to be most effective and impactful, especially during the time we were experiencing the COVID-19 pandemic, not only at its height, but post-COVID, if you want to call it post-COVID, because it's still around.
Yeah.
It didn't just disappear, right?
Yeah.
You started a food program.
Yep. We all eat.
We all eat.
Yeah.
Talk about that.
So We All Eat was a program that was birthed out of necessity. Once again, we couldn't do an expo, we couldn't gather, so we were trying to figure out, well, what are we going to do to sustain the organization, and then we also want to be true to our mission, which is building businesses because it creates wealth. And we saw that you had a whole bunch of people losing their jobs. The food pantry lines was around the corner. Every night you turned on the news, they talked about food insecurity. But then they also talked about occupancy restrictions. 25%, restaurants could only open at 25%, but they had to pay 100% of their bills.
Right.
So they were struggling. So we said, well, what if we gave money to restaurants and the restaurants provided meals for the people? You kill two birds with one stone. So we pitched that to Fort Bend County. Shout out to KP George, Grady Presses. They did an amazing job Grady's a visionary, a true leader, and he pushed it through. We were funded a total of $12.6 million. And what we did is we distributed that money amongst 30 plus so restaurants that provided meals to individuals in the community. It was we created a whole technology platform. So the people had an app where they can go online, look at the restaurants, place their orders. QR code was sent to their phone. The restaurant got the order. They could go in the back end, see what their orders, call the people. They go in, they scan it, and then we bill the county, and then they pay for it. So I think that one, that was just an innovative program and a creative way of solving two problems at once, helping the restaurants, but also we did 714,000 meals. But I think it was strategically, I think it raised my way of thinking, because while Boost, the Lunch and Learns, all that stuff is really good, don't get me wrong. But I've told people, I said, I feel like we did more in those 18 months to help the Black community and than we had done in the last 18 years. Because we had $12.6 million that we were on the forefront of helping to distribute. A lot of times when disasters hit and their government funds and they can't find qualified minority businesses, well, we have a whole database full of them. Now, mind you, all of our participants were not African American. The majority were not African American, but we made sure that businesses that represented the African American community had their seat at the table, and they took their share of that $12.6 million. The average restaurant probably got somewhere in the neighborhood about $180,000 to $280,000. Our top producing restaurant was over $1 million. The lowest was about $85,000. So for a lot of small mom and pop restaurants, $300,000 is all they make in a year. And that's what they got off of our program. But what did that do? We surveyed our restaurants. 80% said they hired at least 3 people. Most of them, I think it was 90%, said that they wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for our organization. So that's a real tangible economic impact. You know, if they hired 3 people, that's 3 people that were able to take care of their families and their community. So it's just a whole community impact. And that's why our theme this year is boom, building our own marketplace. Mm-hmm. That's our goal. And that's what's missing in the African-American community, you know? And last thing I'll say on that, and when you look at it, we focus a lot of times, and someone had to make me kind of see this. He said, we focus on keeping our money in our communities, but we don't have, when you build a business, you have a tool to extract resources from other communities. So yeah, we want you to support our business, but just as they build their corner stores and sell their hair in our communities, taking our resources out our community, and then they go do whatever they want with it, but don't come back to our community. Businesses are tools for us to extract money from communities, our community, but others, and then we can direct where that goes, if that makes sense. So with what we did, we were able to extract money from the county, and then we were able to distribute it. So, but I think that entrepreneurship is critically important to our community, and the We All Eat program just opened my mind to so many things.
So what was the catalyst behind coming up with the program?
Well, the catalyst was just really seeing the root of any business is solving a problem, meeting a need. So I just explained to you the problems. People can't get food, restaurants having to shut down. So it made me think, well, how can we solve this problem? And then that's how we kind of came up with it. And the lesson there is for business. Me, when I started Googogs, man, this Googogs is so clean. Get up, get out, and get something. I'm gonna be a millionaire. It wasn't really no sound business plan or business model. What problem? I just assumed somebody was gonna be excited about it because that's what we do. We get excited, we get passionate
about our own thing.
About our own thing, and we assume everybody else gonna be just as passionate about it as us, and they're gonna give us money. Yeah. But if you're not able to communicate how you're going to solve a problem, meet a need, you're not going to be successful in business.
Yeah.
So the catalyst was the problem that we were solving that we were able to monetize.
Yeah. So another thing that you all did, I want to say this was after the Hurricane Harvey situation, you provided quite a few businesses, small businesses, African-American businesses with resources by way of grants.
Yep.
Talk about that.
So that birthed the Texas Smart. That's our primary focus. Like a lot of organizations, we give scholarships, we give grants. Texas Small Business Emergency Micro Grant Source, and it came after Hurricane Harvey. That hit this city. We were shut down. Many businesses haven't even opened back up. But 2-3 weeks, 30 days, the city was shut down. Businesses were struggling. And what we realized is kind of what I said. A lot of times these government funds and the FEMA stuff comes in and it just doesn't trickle its way down to businesses that represent our community. Some of that is our fault. We don't have our accounting and our DUNS number and all some of the things that are necessary to get those grants.
Right.
And when you look at statistics, it would suggest that 40% of small businesses after a natural disaster will never open their doors again. Now, on the one hand,
what percent?
40%.
Wow.
So on the one hand, you could argue that it's not the natural disaster. It's just the way we operate in business. Cash flow low, we robbing Peter to pay Paul. So a natural disaster just exacerbates what's already happening.
Right.
So instead of you going out of business in 2 years,
right.
You're going to go out of business in 30 days, But so understanding that and the critical need to access capital, we said, well, we're going to provide emergency funding for small businesses, micro grants. So that's how we started the Texas Small Business Emergency Micro Grant Source. Partnered with Rashawn McDonald out of LA. He pulled together some of his Hollywood friends, built a momentum.
I think he's a member of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. But anyway, go ahead.
I think that's important.
Well, I just wanted to make sure. Since we're throwing out fraternities that are amazing and doing amazing things, you partnered with the brothers in order to make that happen. Go ahead.
What he learned from the best. So, but
you needed him, right? Okay, but anyway, go ahead.
So he pulled together some resources from a lot of his Hollywood friends, and we immediately hit the ground running. It was just submit the application. If you can show the need, we $1,000, 24 to 48 hours. It wasn't no rigorous, red tape or anything. It's $1,000, And so it was very impactful. It was just a blessing to see that we were able to really impact the community. Now that's just kind of our ongoing thing. So when we get contributions from sponsors and things of that nature, our charitable giving is funneled to the Emergency Micro Grant Source, and that's kind of our primary outreach, if you will.
So with that, to date, how many grants have you given out? Businesses have you helped? If you know that off top.
You know what? I don't know off top, but I'd probably say we're probably about 140, 150 in terms of actual financial grants that we've given. Yeah,
that's amazing, man. So, also another thing that because again, I think a lot of people, when they think about the Texas Black Expo, all they think about is who gonna be the artist, who gonna be what's the concert gonna look like, and the vendors that are there going to actually go from booth to booth. But they don't think about all of the other things that Texas Black Expo has and continues to do. So just like those two programs alone that I just talked about, the We All Eat and then the grant program, I'm sure that the majority of folks watching this right now just probably had no idea, but you also have done things relative to allowing opportunities to do like a business pitch
Oh yeah.
program. Talk about that.
So that was a concept that was kind of birthed out of Daryl King. Kind of helped us come up with that concept and that idea is a CEO roundtable and elevator pitch competition. So it's a two-part program. One, we bring in CEOs, high-level executives that have an array of experience in a lot of different areas that can just basically talk to business owners. Once again, I never really used this term until this show, actually, but it's really mentoring, you know. So we have Sean Taylor. Sean Taylor was a former owner of the Houston Astros. He owned 33 Taco Bells, I think, at one point. So he comes out and he talks to the people about entrepreneurship and business, and then it's followed by a pitch competition. So the people come in with their business ideas, they pitch their business, and then they're scored, and then we give out cash prizes or whatnot to the individuals. Now, prior to the pitch competition, they go through marketing and training modules, and we kind of go through kind of a little bit what we kind of talked about. A lot of people, when they talk about their business, they don't really understand that people aren't as excited about their business as they are. So they're saying a whole bunch of stuff that really don't matter, you know.
Right.
So we teach them how to really get to the bottom of understanding who your customer is. I in my book, I kind of coined a concept called hunting versus fishing. And I argue that most of us have been taught to hunt. So when you hunt, I used to watch Wild Kingdom, Mutual Omaha or whatnot. And when you hunt an animal, their natural inclination is to run. So then what do you have to do? You have to be deceptive. You have to put on camouflage. You have to hide in the bushes. You have to do all kinds of stuff. But when you learn to fish, you first understand the fish, understand what they like, understand what they want. You present the bait and they're drawn in and then they get hooked. So we kind of teach people how to think about their business and their marketing so that they can create their marketing pitch, their hook, their strategy, so that they become attractive. So then they don't have to hunt for business. You know what I'm saying? They don't have to be deceptive. They don't have to say, oh, man, you went to OU, I went to OU. My granddad, you know, I always talk about how, you know, you would see them, they would make the duck calls. They would try to sound like the person. Right. That's that version of that. I just say, whatever you say, oh, man, you went to OU? Oh, my granddad. You know, you're just trying to say and do whatever is necessary.
To connect.
Yeah, to connect so you can get the sale, but you're really not concerned about what are they concerned about. Not understanding that ultimately to have long-term customers and clients is going to be it's about them. Everybody listen to one station, WIFM. What's in it for me?
What's in it for me?
So you got to be able to tell them, I'm going to help you with your problem. I'm going to help you in order to have long, sustained customers or whatnot.
Yeah. So what other programs, and we're going to get to I want to get to the meat and potatoes of the expo itself and what's going to happen for your summer celebration this year. What other programs do you all offer or have you done that are separate and apart from the expo itself?
Well, my favorite program is our Aspire Youth Entrepreneur Summer Camp. And that is birthed, once again, out of my experience. I started in business, not even really understanding what a budget was. I didn't know what a balance sheet, income statement. I didn't understand anything. So we do a 2-week summer camp where we bring, it's called the Aspire Youth Entrepreneur Summer Camp. And we bring about 20, maybe 30 youth together. And it's 2 weeks. They're learning about entrepreneurship. You can go to our YouTube and you can kind of see some of our before and after. We'll survey them. We'll ask what's a balance sheet, what's marketing, what's advertising, what's public relations. We'll ask them all those questions, and at the end they have to answer again, and you can see the growth. And now they understand these concepts. They understand economies of scale. They understand terms. They know the difference between an income statement and a profit and loss statement, or well, those are kind of the same, but you know, balance sheet or cash flow statement. So that's my favorite program.
Okay.
And then one of the things that we strategically do with that, one of the reasons why minority businesses go out of business at a rate that's disproportionate isn't necessarily, we say it's money. It is money, but it's not necessarily the money to run the day-to-day operations, but it's more so the monies that determines the choices that you make. We don't have a lot of overhead capital, so we ain't gonna start a lumber company. You know, we gonna go into businesses that have a lower barrier of entry, which tend to also have a higher attrition rate. So we try to expose them to different businesses beyond the t-shirt shop, the restaurant, and some of those things.
So the website.
Yeah. So we took them to Nightlight Pediatric Urgent Care. Now they recently sold, but it was owned by 3 minority women. So who starts an after-hours clinic was the first one in the city, grew to about 12 locations, had 180 employees, and they get to talk to 2 African-American women talking about how they started this business.
Shout out to Zawadi Bryan,
Dr. Jennings. Most people don't know Connie, but Connie was the other founder.
Yeah, absolutely.
We took them to McConnell Jones, Lanier Murphy. So they sat in this big old office building in the conference room table overlooking the city, and Sharon came in and talked to them about budgeting and finances. So they were just enamored by, all of this is y'all's, So it kind of it raises their level of exposure and their vision, so that they then now have some stuff they can strive for. We met them with Ed Ryland, the OG in the commercial real estate. So he took us to some office building and complexes so they can kind of see about real estate. We partner with Najee Barnes with Barnes Realty, and he's also works for Nike, does digital marketing. So he talked to him about digital marketing and advertising, but then he took him to one of his apartment complexes, So they actually got to see someone that works in corporate America, but isn't relying upon corporate America, and now has 3 apartment complexes, So we try to really expose them. So that's my favorite program. You can tell by how excited I got about it.
I love it.
So,
I love it. It's I've seen your growth, man. I've been there since day one. When I was at Washington Mutual, we supported the Black Expo, man, for many years. Always enjoyed doing it, and I still enjoy supporting it. And we thank you for the support you give to the Forward Times, by making sure that, some people always would come to the Forward Times looking for us to just promote their stuff and not be reciprocal. And you've been very, very reciprocal to us. And it's really indicative of what you're talking about, and making sure that small businesses are growing. I have a question before we get into the upcoming festivities for this year. What advice would you give? Because you a lot of what you're talking about are maybe like some startup businesses or people that are kind of, starting out, growing, maybe new, or even thinking about going into business. But you have some individuals who've been in business for years and have been doing the robbing Peter to pay Paul thing, or 30 days away from shutting down, with a natural disaster happening or whatever. But they have done things the way they've done things. Maybe want to grow, but don't know how. Don't know how to pivot, don't know how to shift the way things have been versus the way they need to be. What advice would you give?
Get a mentor. Like I say, at the end of the day, the most valuable investment I've had in me that's helped me to be successful, whether it be me writing books and speaking, with my real estate and my construction company, or with the Black Expo, it's been identifying individuals and or organizations that was doing what I was doing, that was willing to help and to share with me. And I will say, as a caveat, don't overlook or don't assume that they're going to do it for free. Be willing to invest. And if they do it for free, look to try to do something to reciprocate, as you say, So for me, that's the biggest thing. And then I also talk about how, let's say in a basketball game, Michael Jordan is the greatest player ever, in my opinion. But there were times where a foul get called and he get mad, and it's a clear foul. Everybody on TV can see it, but they have the referee, the umpire, the official, that's the unbiased individual that's not emotionally charged.
Supposed to be. Anyway.
It's supposed to be. That makes that call. So when you're in your business, you're emotionally attached to it. So your perception is skewed. So when you get a mentor and advisor, they're not necessarily going to tell you exactly what you want to hear. They have a different vantage point. They have a different perspective, and they're not emotionally attached to it. So you got to be willing to listen. What's the point of having an advisor or a mentor if you're not going to listen? It just really doesn't make any sense. Might as well. That's the most frustrating thing for me. People always call me, man, I'm thinking about investing in real estate. And then I say, we need to do this, that, and the other. Well, but my cousin told me, okay, go talk to your cousin then. You know what I'm saying? If you ask me, I'm going to tell you what, I know, you know what I'm saying? Now, don't get me wrong. What your cousin says may be right, and it may have worked for him in Detroit or back in 1980 or whenever it was, but this is what has worked for me, and this is the way I do it. Some people will say, well, I don't want to deal with tenants. I'm going to flip my house. Okay, no problem. That's not my reality. I prefer to have a check coming every week. I don't just need one quick lick, and then just have some money looking pretty in the bank. I tell everybody every house I own is a bank account where my money's in it. And that money's paying me $1,000, $1,500, whatever the case may be per month. What bank account, if you put $100,000 in it, it's going to pay you $1,500 a month.
Yeah.
I don't know of any. So for me, that's my vantage point. But if you're scared of dealing with tenants and you just want to flip and make a quick $20,000, $30,000, then go do that. But that's not what I do, So, but that's the biggest thing. Get a mentor, get an advisor, and then most importantly, listen to that person.
Yeah. So let's talk about it now. 20 years, celebration. What's happening?
Man, well, biggest thing, of course, you already said it, Magic Johnson, May 19th, Marriott Marquis. We're going to have a grand summer celebration, corporate awards luncheon. Magic Johnson's going to be our keynote speaker. We're going to be honoring Mayor Sylvester Turner for 8 years of excellence and really 30 plus years of service to the state of Texas. Prior to that, we have our coffee and conversation. This year, our focus is on franchising. The theme is entrepreneurship through acquisition. That was one of the things. Sean has kind of become somewhat of a mentor for me as well. And one of the things he was telling me and challenging me, he said, well, Jerome, it's great to help these smaller mom and pop businesses. That's great. But if you really gonna have an impact in the community, you got to be able to control jobs and you got to be able to control resources. And then he kind of shared how he grew his business with Taco Bell, how many people he employed, the contractors that did his painting and lawns, and how they were able to help their families from the money that he gave them. So, and also statistically speaking, one of the number one indicators of a business's longevity is whether or not they start with their own money. If they start with their own savings or bootstrapping, chances of them surviving 2 years is like less than 60%. But if they have bank financing and a partner, it's almost like an 80% chance that they'll survive. Now, you could kind of surmise a few things from that. If they have the capacity to get a loan, they probably have more resources. They're probably a little bit older. They probably have a network. But those are, there's a higher chance that they're going to be able to be a success in business. So we're launching an Entrepreneurship Through Acquisition Academy, where we're going to be teaching people how to evaluate businesses, how to get bank finance, how to purchase a franchise, how to put together your franchise agreements. And then also to those mom and pop businesses kind of that you were talking about, and those that are trying to grow and ultimately maybe even want to get out of their business, you got to be able to create and develop systems so that you can sell your business one day when you want to step out.
Like a succession plan.
Yeah, a succession plan. And or create additional streams of revenue. If you have run your business for 20 years, you have an expertise in a certain area. Why not package that and then sell it to someone else? And they can now run a franchise for your business. So our business session is going to revolve around that. We got Sean Taylor's going to be there. He's going to do a master class on franchising. We got a gentleman by the name of Carlos White. He's an attorney that specializes in franchise. He's out of Dallas. Now, Dallas has a specific initiative where the mayor is trying to launch franchises, specifically within the African-American community. He's on the mayor's task force from Dallas, and he's going to be coming down, kind of giving up the game there. Another young lady named Tarji Carter out of Atlanta. We got so many people. We got a lot of people that's going to be talking about franchises. We're going to have sessions on gaining access to capital. A lot of fun stuff. So Friday night, we got our professional networking event. We're working on, it's the 50th year of hip hop. So we're going to do a salute to the H-Town legends. We got Kiadi, we got Mad Hatter, Kiki's going to be there. So we got some other ones. I can't name them all. Okay. So it's going to be a great showcase. And we're going to have one of our panels at the expo is going to be the business of hip hop. People see Slim Thug and what they know is music, but they don't know he got a construction company.
Mm-hmm.
People know
and has bought up land and has built properties.
Yeah. So we want to talk
yeah.
about the other side of that, millionaire millions
Oh my God,
in technology in California.
Yeah.
I mean, so these brothers are doing some amazing things. Mad Hatter, everybody saw him on the radio, but they didn't know he had his own studio. He got rent houses. He got land. I mean, he had his own label. So we going to really talk about the business of hip hop. And then later on that night, we're going to have an artist showcase too. So we going to do the hooker, H-Town for real. We going there that night. So I'm excited because I grew up on that music.
Absolutely.
So for our 20-year celebration, for me to be at a show with some of the legends that I grew up on, I'm gonna be like a kid in the candy store.
Absolutely.
And if I ain't in my button-up shirt and tie and I'm acting a little different, y'all just gonna have to pray for me. So.
I feel you, man.
Yeah.
So what's happening for the main show? Are you gonna have a concert?
Well, that's going to be our entertainment. That's going to be on Saturday night. We really wanted to focus more on the developmental side. So we got workshops on social media and digital marketing. We have sessions on Black women and money. And I'm trying to think. I can't even remember. We got programming for you. So we got a lot of programming during the day. And then that Saturday night, H-Town Showcase is going to be our concert. So
are you all still accepting vendors?
Oh, of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how can a person, if they want to be a vendor?
TexasBlackExpo.com.
TexasBlackExpo.com.
Yeah, and of course, follow us at Texas Black Expo on all of our social media platforms. We put out all of our updates on all the stuff that's going on. And of course, we got tables available as well at the Corporate Awards Luncheon with Magic. You can actually get VIP tickets to get into a private reception and a photo with Magic. But all of that information is on our website at TexasBlackExpo.com.
So if the person wants to come to, say they're busy, they can't make the corporate awards, they can't make the become a vendor, but they want to come to the H-Town hip hop celebration or all the other activities, some of the workshops or whatever, all that can be found on the website.
On the website, and everything is free. Outside of the concert isn't free, the luncheon isn't free, and the business workshop is $47. But the coffee and conversation is $47. But all of the workshops that take place on Saturday and Sunday at the expo, we have a health fair. So you can come get a full checkup, bone density, cholesterol, all of that. All of that's going to be free. We got a kids zone, Marvel characters and Black Panther. All of the social media workshop, the Black Women and Money, the Diva Dialogue, all of that is free.
So it's something for everybody.
Something for everybody,
okay,
man.
And when are the dates of this again?
May 19th through the 21st at the George R. Brown Convention Center and the Marriott Marquis.
May 19th through the 21st.
Yes, sir.
And everybody is welcome.
Yes, sir.
From all over Texas.
All over the country, all over the world.
All over the world. Okay.
We're working on streaming our sessions too. So people can log in and actually stream. If you're in Chicago, New York, London, wherever you want, you can go online and watch all of the programming. And we're going to be packaging some of that stuff as well. It's like our online education. So that franchising stuff, you're going to be able to go online and watch on demand at the Texas Black Expo website. You
mentioned you're an author.
Yes.
What are your books?
I've written 4 books. The first one is my Get Up, Get Out, and Get Motivated series. So one is on entrepreneurship. It's the Entrepreneurs Edition, the Leaders Edition, then the Student Success Edition. And then the last one is the Closing the Wealth Gap, How to Build Wealth in African-American Communities by Investing in Real Estate. That's under my Black Money Tree brand or mantra. And that's how we launched the podcast and all the other stuff that we're doing.
And tell us about the podcast.
The podcast is the Black Money Tree podcast. It's geared towards pretty much the same thing as the expo, building wealth within the African-American community. The only difference is, that's what I forgot. At the expo, we have Game Day by Onaje Barnes. So we bringing in Chris Senegal and all of these real estate investors and lenders that's going to teach people how to invest in real estate. So Black Expo is more on entrepreneurial development and wealth development, but the Money Tree focuses on entrepreneurship, but also real estate development in investing in real estate. Because that's what I know. Stocks aren't bad. It's just, to me, I think real estate is fundamentally more sound and it's safer. That's just me. Now, you can talk to a Wall Street guy and they probably could argue differently, but I don't understand the stock market like I understand the real estate market. But from what I do understand about it, I think that it's just so simple. My mentor graduated from high school, no college, no nothing. And he has more money than most, you can shake a stick at. Houses all across the city. And half of them are empty because he just don't feel like going out and doing the work. He's an older guy now, but he's still good, So it's just a tremendous platform to create passive income and to build wealth and generational wealth. You can pass that along,
Absolutely. Well, man, thank you again. Get a website out one more time, man, for people to come out, and the dates for the Texas Black Expo.
May 19th through the 21st, texasblackexpo.com, and follow us Instagram, Facebook at Texas Black Expo.
Anything that you want to leave us with, man? Any closing remarks as we get up out of here?
No, that's it. We truly believe that economic prosperity creates awesome communities. So if you are a corporation and you're looking for, when a lot of these initiatives and things come out, they can't find places to put money. We are an organization that's been on the forefront for 20 years. We have all kinds of programs and initiatives, and we can help to impact our community. Last thing I'll say too, the United Nations in 2015 actually put out a list of 17 sustainability goals. One of them was income equality. They have social justice, poverty, and things of that nature as well. So this is the United Nations. They have said that this is a major problem. And if we as a world don't address this, our society as we know it is going to be destroyed. So don't think of it as just for Black people. Just like when we all eat, we had whites in the program, Asians, Indians. Many people benefited from it. So don't, because a lot of times people say, well, this is just for the Black people. No, it's for our community, our world. Mm-hmm. And when one community suffers, we all suffer.
Absolutely. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you, man.
Jerome Love, man, you're a mentor to many, whether they know you or don't. And we appreciate all the work that you've done and the investment you've made into Texas through the Texas Black Expo, man. Thanks for being on Real Talk Junkies.
Thank you so much.
All right, y'all, that'll do it. We're going to get up out of here. Make sure y'all check out the show, Real Talk Junkies, every week on Facebook, of course, YouTube. We got a lot of different upcoming conversations that we're going to have, but I want to encourage you to go to forwardtimes.com to check out the latest news for and about the African-American community. And, of course, chop it up with your boy, Jeffrey L. Boney at jeffreylboney.com, and pick up that new book, Don't Argue With Me, A No-Nonsense Approach to the Issues in the Black Community. Peace.